think there was one sec here. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Accomplished author Alan R. Warren has his master's degree in music from the University of Washington in Seattle, bachelor's of arts in criminology from the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, BC. Alan started writing articles in True Case Files magazine and is still a contributor and serial killer magazine he's written for as well. Since then, he has completed numerous true crime books. He's jumped to the bestsellers list many times with a couple of different authors. His latest book, Doomsday Cults, The Devil's Hostages, is what we are getting into tonight. You can find it on his website as well as Amazon. And at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Alan Warren, always appreciate you coming on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
Fantastic. Good to be here. You serve good coffee.
Well, you know, it's a special brew we have going on here, and it's all about true crime tonight, my friend. Hey, Alan, you know, for the people who may not be familiar with you or you know, are just going to learn about your amazing books tonight, how did you find the love for writing about true crime stories?
Oh, you know, I really don't know. There, I'm helping you. No, I was a big radio crime guy since I can remember. But I was listening to fiction crime, you know, The Shadow and, suspense and all that stuff. I was big into that. And for some reason, that took me into law in college, which took me into, crime and then on to the radio. And there you go. And one thing led to another.
The stories are always different, but the one thing is the same. You're always dealing with those who were victims or the families of victims. When you are trying to write one of your incredible books, how do you go about paying attention to the family?
Well, I think the first thing that I do is, people send me stories, or I hear about a story, and I approach family members first and see what they want accomplished in a book, or if they even want to be involved. And that really determines whether I'm going to write or not. Because if they don't want to be involved and they're not going to be part of it, I usually just put it in a file and kind of leave it. Because it's got to be about them and what's going to help them more than anything else.
What is usually the response from family? Let's say, they're involved in some tragic case that's very popular in the media. How do they react when you all of a sudden message them on email or knock at their door and say, "Hi, I'm Alan. I'm a true crime writer. I want to tell your story"?
Well, you get different reactions. Some are, of course, very, they can be angry at you. They can be put off with the whole idea of doing a book, all the way to the other side where they're glad to see you and they want to talk. And if anything, they feel that a lot of the story hasn't been told, and a lot of what's been told has been told wrong. And so they jump on it. I think the other aspect of it is they have to feel they trust you, and they trust what you are going to do with their lives in the public eye. And so that's always kind of the biggest, I guess, hurdle, or the thing that will convince them whether they want to be part of the book or not.
Alan, when you are putting a book together for true crime, there's so many different aspects. You have the victims' families, the accused or the convicted. You have the police, the coroner's office, and the eyewitnesses. How hard is it to put all of that together in one book to get the accurate information that you need to be a bestseller?
Well, sometimes it's really hard, and sometimes it's incredibly quick. You just don't know. I think, for instance, right now, I think I've got 7 manuscripts on the go. And what it is you sort of get them going, and then you start putting the feelers out. And some things take forever. It can take you 2 or 3 years just to get the information, whereas other books, you have everything. Everyone comes at you really quick. If anything, it's too much, too quick. So that it can vary depending on, and it also depends on how they feel about you. Like when you meet them and how long it takes them to open up and really get things going. So it kind of goes back and forth. The families, the victim families, and usually the killer, the murderer themselves, are the two most difficult and most time-consuming.
Really? I thought that would have been the police. To be absolutely on, because a lot of times they don't like giving out information.
I think it depends on the police. First of all, it depends on the country, and then it depends on the police force or the prison or the court, because they're all different. Canada is way different than the U.S., which is way different than the U.K., and that's the 3 primary countries I've worked with. I find the UK the easiest, Canada probably in the middle, and the States to be just, it's crazy the range it goes, because there's each state has its own thing, and it's just kind of crazy because you don't know what you're faced with. Like with Canada and the UK, when you apply for the prison and to go visit killers and do all that stuff, you do one application. Once you're approved, you're approved. And then it's just contacting the prison and then getting it set up. It's not that easy in the States.
So when you go to the States, and let's say you're writing a book about an American serial killer, and let's say they're on death row, that's a state that still has a death penalty. Is it extremely difficult to find time or to be approved to interview this person?
Again, it depends. When I did Rodney Alcala and that, it seemed to be relatively easy, and I had very little problem. But it also goes by whoever's representing the prisoner, as in their legal or family sort of situation. So, and if they really want to talk and if they really want the exposure, they'll jump right onto you, and it kind of happens really quickly. Whereas some of the other ones I've done, it hasn't been quite that easy, and there's a way more steps to go through, and applications and approvals to get. And then when you go into certain places, like certain prisons, you're not allowed to have anything. So you can't have a tape recorder, you can't have cameras, you can't have your phone, you can't have anything. And some of them don't even let you write down things. You have to spend an hour at a time and try to remember everything and then go out and write down what you can remember. And I don't really like that, actually. So it varies.
Do you have to deal with lawyers too? Because that could be a pain in the butt.
Sometimes, like if I don't too much. I've had to in a few cases because there's some sort of legal civil suit going on. Or the other one would be like the one I'm dealing with now in Canada, is because the killer is actually up for parole, and so there is lawyers involved. And but for the most part, it's okay. For the most part, they just kind of want to see what you're doing and why you're doing it, and they're very careful with what their client says if there's a chance of them getting out.
No, absolutely. And you know, that's got to be a tough balance, because here you are trying to tell a balanced story and something that is going to be a part of everyone and everyone's opinion on both sides, because I think you're a very balanced writer. You know, however, the legal ramifications, we really don't think about that from the public side, and that's something that you got to be quite attuned to.
Well, that's the difference, and that goes even for radio as well as books. You know, people don't realize that when you're represented as something, like I'm supposed to be doing, if you're doing a newspaper or if you're on a show or doing a book, and once it's published, you're responsible for the content. So what happens with that is people sue you, or you and your publisher, or any other writer you have involved. People come after you, and you're held responsible if you've knowingly, especially knowingly, lied or created something or changed something. And so you have to be very, very particular and double source everything. And that's kind of the difference between that and a lot of the stuff that's online, that they can really say anything they want. They can publish a blog about anything and call people all sorts of things, and they don't really get held to the same standard. So you have to be very careful when you actually publish something that goes out that people buy.
Are there any stories or cases out there that are public that you just don't want to touch?
Yeah, most of the ones. The thing is, if there's a lot of activity on a case, I don't want to touch it. And if it's still in the middle of something or still really going on, I don't want to touch it because there hasn't been a story that I haven't dealt with that hasn't changed over a period of time. And it takes time to get all the information. And when something's going on currently, and if you were to put something out, publish something now on a case going on now, it's going to be missing a lot, and it's going to need a lot of updates. And it's really, for me, that means you're going for the cash. That would be like writing a COVID-19 story now and publishing it. It'd be kind of like, wow, there's still such a long way to go in something that and you don't know all the facts. So what you're doing is jumping on the wagon, sort of, and I'm not really fussy on doing that sort of thing.
What about when stories involve kids or maybe a subject that just seems a little bit too close to home? I haven't
had to shy away from anything. There's different cases that have hit close to home, and I've felt them, but it hasn't stopped me from going ahead with writing or getting into it. And for me, it doesn't really matter about the parts, the storyline of the case and the fact of whether there's kids in it, whether it was rape, whether it was assault, the type of killing or anything. Those details don't decide whether I'm going to write or not, because I put them in the books. It's important to get the facts out, but it's not the center of the book. Like in every one of my books, some of them are more popular cases than others, and I do have the outline of what goes on, but that's not what the book's about. If you want to get more detail about the killer, or if you want to get more details about every second of the crime and get into all the gore you're not going to get it in my book. I'm going to give you the facts, what you need to know, but the book's subject has to be about the effect of the actual crime on everyone centered around it, so that how the justice system works, and for the different people involved that survive. Sometimes some of the complaints I'll get sometimes is, well, you didn't tell me enough about the killer. I need to know more about it. And it's like, well, I don't want you to be worshiping a killer. I'm not really into telling you, about the three girlfriends they had and all that. I'll tell you the basics, and that's kind of as far as it goes. I don't really want to get into the killer story, and I don't really want to get into the gore.
Alan, what's it like to speak with a serial killer?
It's kind of, it's freaky afterwards. When you first meet someone, they seem very normal. In fact, when I was doing Last Man Standing, and I met, Jack McCullough, who was accused of this murder. He didn't do that, but he did others, and he was an awful sort of person, in a lot of ways. But when you meet them, you sit down and you're having lunch or whatever you're doing, it's just like talking to any other person. It would be, for me, it was just like people you work with, people you get on the bus with, people in the store when you're shopping. They seem no different. They have their likes and dislikes, and they talk just like every other person. That would be the closest I can say. And even the one I just dealt with here in Edmonton, he seemed very humble, quiet, shy, reserved, very much like a nice guy. And you might think he is if you don't know the past and what happened. So it's nothing too freaky. Not yet.
I bet. And, as these crimes become more preposterous and more unbelievable, it almost seems like these mass murderers now, they want to top the previous guy for the killing spree. It's almost turned out to a game. Do you get that sense as well when you talk to these people?
Yeah, there's an evolution involved here. They're all evolving just as we are, and just as the crime, like the policing and the crime agencies are. We all sort of are evolving into something different. What that is and where it goes, I don't know. In fact, I don't think it stops. It just keeps on moving. I don't know. I don't know that, and some are in it for the sport, and some are actually in it for. It's not about the crime. It's about something else. Whether that's some sort of mental problem or there's a lot of things going on. But some are definitely in it for the sport, and they read about other killers, and and it affects the way they do their own killing. So that's very. It's funny that when I did the 4 different books for a British series, on 3 of them I exchanged letters with the serial killers. I never met them live, but I've got their letters and their correspondence and stuff. And there was one in the UK that was very much opinionated about other killers, and he had an opinion about like Donald Trump and about it. He was very involved with the world and what people thought and who was a real good serial killer and who wasn't, like that. So that was the first character that I came across that was very involved in the whole serial killer world, I guess.
Do you ever feel dirty after talking to him, like you need a shower or 2 or 3?
Well, some of them, yeah. Some of them for sure. Actually, but sometimes you feel that way even after, just going into prison, right, and seeing some of the other characters. But it depends on how they are. Like, the guy in Alberta there, not at all. It's so bizarre sometimes when you see how much, you've killed 7 people and you've raped 2 girls and you've burned bodies. You've done all these things. And then you go and meet them and they're like a timid, shy, quiet, very polite person. That's kind of more takes your mind away than needing a shower. You know what I mean? Because you're totally trying to figure this person out, and you're trying to figure out if what they're telling you is true or if it's something they're trying to present to you. And there's the other thing is some of them are very smart and they are trying to just manipulate you. So they're looking for something. What can I get out of this person? And it's not just necessarily what you put in the book. Some of them will ask for money, for different things. And so it's kind of a weird situation.
Author Alan R. Warren is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 2.25 minutes left here, Alan, before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. When it comes to serial killers or people who kill in general, are they insane, or is there a hidden level of brilliancy that just goes way overboard?
Well, that takes more than 2 minutes, but I'll tell you that it depends on what you want to classify as insane. Insane does not have anything to do with your intelligence or your planning and your. We have to separate the two. There are really insane people that are very, very smart. So it's kind of a separation there, and again, not just legally insane, but mentally insane, like clinically. And that's a difference as well, because legal insanity is kind of not what it sounds like, So yeah, so it some of them correspond and some of them don't, but they have two separate. It's like having 2 separate things there. They don't necessarily reflect on each other.
Have you ever figured out from a lot of these people why they decided to become killers? Because in the end, they have to make the decision.
Yeah, well, anybody I've come across has not thought about it that way. I think Rodney Alcala is probably the only one, but he really is insane. He's a nutball. But all the other ones I've come across did not just all of a sudden flick on the light and go, I'm going to be a killer now, and that it just it evolved. It took different amount of time for different killers, and one thing kind of went into the next, and it sort of moved its way in there. I don't think they thought about, when they're 12, I want to grow up to be a killer. I think they do things for different responses, from fires to hurting small animals or rodents, and things kind of progress. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of something they get sucked into, and I'm not saying it as a, like a defense. It's just something that grows with them.
I hear you there. Alan, hold on right there, because we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Alan R. Warren, is here tonight. We're going to be talking Doomsday cults. We're going to start getting into that next on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you'd know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. For more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time. Big thank you to everybody who has so far subscribed to our YouTube channel, because that's where we keep our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and staying up to date on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, along with my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight we are talking true crime, and we're going to go down a road that we have never, ever gone down on Spaced Out Radio in our 5 years and a bit of broadcasting, and that is talking about doomsday cults. Now, there's a lot of them out there, you know. We can think of David Koresh, we could think of Jim Jones, and there's ones out there that are still working very, very hard to recruit members. One of the top authors when it comes to true crime and anything of the sort is our good friend Alan R. Warren. AlanRWarren.com is his website. I highly suggest you check out his books. He's a best-selling author. Alan, welcome back.
Thank you.
What took you down the road?
Day.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, you know, I try my best. Now I'm blushing, man. You rattled me there. But, Alan, what took you down going from true crime down this very slippery and dangerous level of talking about doomsday cults?
You know, it really is dangerous. I think that the years of interviewing people that were involved in them, and I think I got really kind of frustrated with the way people perceive cults, and also the way they talk about them online. And I see a lot of stuff flying around social media, and a lot of it's just not true. And I see people that even do books and go on shows, and they talk about all these things, and I think, well, that's not really true. And they kind of, and it sort of really bothered me. So I thought that at the end of the day, I thought I wanted to put a series of books out about cults and put them in the categories. And this is the first of the books, you know, and it's about doomsday cults because they all sort of have the same formula. And I wanted to really put the basics of the different types of cults and really talk more about what happens in a cult and some of the people that get into the cults, and then kind of the pattern of the cult, as well as what happens after the cult ends, and why do so many people still follow these cults, especially when the prophet or the leader of the group is dead, and what they predicted and said was going to happen didn't, So, and how could people still be following that then? And so that really kind of interested me. And I had access to most of these cults. I've had good access to people that survived them and still live today, and some of them still follow the groups. And I thought this was a good way to present it, so people would understand it maybe better.
The people who are involved, how does one start a cult? I realize that is a dangerous slope to kind of go down, especially because there might be some people out there, especially in our Twitterverse, say, how can I do this? But on a serious note, how does one decide that this is something that they want to get into? Is it strictly religious belief, or is it about power of people?
Well, it's all of it. But, the thing is, see, that's kind of something that's kind of and it's a sore point for people because, as I describe in this, and some people get mad at me for saying this, but all of these groups here had the idea that the end of the world was happening. But every one of these groups did not start out with that concept, and they did not start out to be a cult. There's not one here that sort of sat there and said, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. Every one of these started out with a fairly innocent group, whether it be a holistic healing group, eating natural group, yoga group, a group of self-improvement, or you get into groups of, let's see, their meditations, and so they all had kind of a reasoning and were part of something that was pretty passive, really. And it took a little bit of time to evolve into what it did. So in reality, these people did not just start. This is, we hear about the cults, like you were saying, Branch Davidians and stuff, but you hear about it at the peak, at the end. And you hear about kind of, all these followers and what they're doing and how their leader's done this and that, and then it ends badly. Everyone dies, and that kind of, then we move on with life. But it didn't start there. It started usually a long time before, and it started out quite innocently. And some people will snap at me for saying that. But in most cases, it does start out with a more of an innocent kind of thing.
Well, so many people, when we try to define cults, and I'm going to pick on my buddy Mike here because he made the comment in the chat room, and I was thinking along this same lines too. A lot of people tend to believe that organized religion is all cultish by definition. Is that true too?
In my opinion, it is. But again, people will yell at me for that. But, the thing is, when you go back in time, and you look at even Jesus Christ, the original concept of this in the part 1 of the book, it says, was Jesus the original Charles Manson is the title. Now, I didn't do that to get attention. What I was kind of saying is back when Jesus Christ was starting, there was 12 other groups just like him, giving a lot of the same information and going around. And back then, the Jews and a lot of they all considered this to be small cults. They were not considered a good thing. And when you move this forward to now, if you had a guy like Charles Manson just going around doing the same thing that, let's say, or even take Jesus, and so a guy comes along and says that he can heal people, that he's God's son, and listen to his words and all this, preach and love or whatever else. So if someone did that right now, what would be your initial reaction? You'd go, oh, this is a nutball. He thinks he's God's son, right? So, yeah, is there, really what the difference is between an organized religion and a cult would be maybe length of time and political power and money.
But is it about the financial gain? I mean, let's take Kenneth Copeland, for instance. COVID-19, I blow. Anyways,
Right.
That is, to me, one of the greatest things I have ever seen on YouTube. Honestly, it really is. But you take Kenneth Copeland. Here's a gentleman who is prosperity-centered. He is worth $760 million. Doesn't give a dime of his own money to anybody. Yet he gets his congregation to buy him airplanes. He gets his congregation to pay for his houses. He doesn't have to pay tax on everything. But he's got 122 million followers worldwide. Is that kind of what we're talking about? Or is that just picking on someone who's made religion a very successful business?
Well, it is someone that's... you see, the religion doesn't start out to be a business, but it becomes that. It evolves into it. And once it becomes that, it's like a machine. So anybody getting into it either gets into the function of the machine, or they get spit out. And I don't know Copeland as in what was he like when he started? Did he really believe? Was he a good preacher? Was he this great man of God? I don't know. He's an old man, and it was a long time ago. And it's easy to pick him now. I think that he's a good example of humans getting involved in anything and kind of trying to run it. He believes the hype, I guess you might say. I personally think that he's a shyster. They're all nutballs, and they're all taking advantage of people and living the good life. But the sad thing is they're taking advantage of a lot of people that, probably really need some sort of spiritual help or some sort of guidance in their life, or they need security. So it's kind of a sad thing, and it's easy to pick on him because he's blowing COVID-19 on the air.
Oh, it was beautiful. But I think we also do have to separate, okay? I think we strongly have to separate somebody who's into making money off of televangelism comparatively to the person who is, say, doing the good of what they believe they've grown up with and working in a church, and they're struggling financially too, in order to help people out, whether that's through the Word of God or whatever they believe. There is the good side of it as well. And I think, it gets overshadowed by people like Kenneth Copeland or Creflo Dollar or Joel Osteen.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It's like anything you see that humans are involved with. The religion, nowadays is politics a religion? I think that you can actually say it is. You could you do a good argument in that, especially with the U.S. As a figure. Did the paranormal turn into a religion? In all aspects, and I think you can make a good argument for that. It becomes organized. It becomes there becomes rules and standards, and then people start living by the standards, and either they're in it or they're not, and it becomes like a religion. So either you're part of it or you're not, or you're anti that religion. So they're anti whatever if they say something against it, whatever it is. And I think all of these features, all these themes are the same. And it might start out correctly or innocently, but there's always these people that take advantage,
Alan R. Warren is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking Doomsday Cults. When you wrote Doomsday Cults, The Devil's Hostages, what was the passion behind writing this book?
The fact that each one of these cults, groups, religious movements started out as a place of help, support for people, and just how they would get into it because of their own reasons, and there's a lot we can talk about there. And then they become a part of the machine running, and it goes all the way to the end. Every one of these groups were waiting for the end times. We're living in it right now, and they were all picked by God to lead the new world, and their leader, Jim Jones or Charles Manson, or all of these leaders were picked. They were God's son or the prophet, and they were going to lead God's army into the new world after the apocalypse happened. And so they all had the same formula, and then they all ended up not happening, and quite a few ended up dying. And then even after all of that, a lot of the churches are still running today and still have followers, and people are still waiting for, like for instance with the Branch Davidians, they're still waiting for David Koresh to return. They're waiting for him to come back. And that's how they live their life.
I never would have thought that. I never would have thought that in a million years.
Crazy. And I used one of them in the book for that chapter. And even when I was just on Coast to Coast talking about this, and we had two people call in, and both of them believe still that David Koresh taught them the truth. He was the only true person to tell them the truth from the Bible and the teachings, and they're still waiting for him to return. So it became a point where you gotta, so you can blame it on the leader, but so Koresh got them in and give them the teachings, but there's a point where they no longer needed that prophet or leader. They no longer needed Koresh to continue. So they start living. So that's why I said it's like a machine. So he gets them into it, and once they get to a certain level, he's no longer needed. They just become part of the system. And even after he's dead, and what we all know to be probably not true in most of the things he did say and do, it doesn't matter. They're still working the machine. They're still living that system, and they're waiting.
All right. Well, let's as we got about 6 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour, let's talk about the people involved. Okay, how does one get brainwashed to the point that they fall for this type of heavy indoctrination?
Well, there's a lot of things that go with that. The brainwashing takes a little bit of time, but in general, you're talking about breaking down the person's self, where they no longer have an identity, and then give them a whole new identity or personality or a whole new meaning. So you got to have people that are pretty susceptible. So they're looking for some sort of validation. They're in a transitional time. They're looking for an identity. They don't feel they're important. And they are natural followers. They're not someone that would step up and direct something. And again, they're looking for a meaning. And that's the big thing too. With humans, we are thinking, what's the point? What's the point to everything? There has to be a purpose. Why am I here? Why are we alive? Why are we doing these things? And so that has to be something that's really important in someone's mind, someone that thinks about this a lot. They're probably suggestible. And in some cases, there are people that have a very low self-worth and tend to defer everything, blame others. It's always other people that are doing things, that are doing things wrong. So in a way, it's almost like they're almost on the edge of society, but they're not necessarily. They're just in that place where they're transitional. And I think that's sort of it. There's also a few that are a little bit more delusional, a little bit more schizophrenic type thing. and they get quite often taken into these groups as well. So, and it takes a while for the brainwashing to actually be complete. There has to be a lot of things that happen over a period of time before people start really growing into the movement.
Alan R. Warren is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We hear all these stories about people who just give up everything, their homes, their cars, their investments, everything in their bank account, the clothing off of their back in order to join these. I just do not understand, Alan, how someone can be that brainwashed to give everything away for the belief of someone's word. I mean, there are people out there who've even given up their wives.
Well, and that's all part of it. I think that again, there's a real sense of insecurity going on here. There's something that we're looking for, some sort of comfort when we do this, and these leaders are good at assaulting your identity. Starting to rip down or break down your ego and your core beliefs. And the big thing is to make you feel bad and you're guilty, and they start to isolate you as well. And then when you start to feel rewarded at times, that's when we start moving into it. And all of a sudden they want to feel part of a family or a commune. So yeah, they give up their jobs, they give up their finances and house, and they move to the group, to the commune. And at the time, and when you look at a lot of the old tapes and videos and you see how they were getting along, they've never been happier. They actually felt part of something. They felt important. They felt loved. And that could be for a number of years. So, but all of that in itself draws them further and further into it. And then of course, most of the groups or churches, what it is they isolate you from your family and friends. They slowly pull you away. And that's actually not that hard. It really isn't, because as they get more pulled into this and it becomes their full-time life and commitment, it's not that hard to start moving away from friends and families that were part of that old life and that old person that you thought was not very good. A lot of these people really don't like themselves for whatever reason. And so when they get the new identity in the new group, they become whole again or pure, and they don't really like that old identity anymore. And so a lot what goes with that is friends and family, people that were part of that identity. Look at it like a alcoholic or a drug addict that has all their friends that they used to do drugs and drinking with, and part of that old identity. And when they've moved on to the new one and they're feeling really good, they will stay away from those people that were part of that old life.
So when the people who give up everything in order to do this, I mean, how does someone give up their own, as we only got about a minute to go here, we might have to carry this over. How does someone even give up their own children for this? That's the one that blows my mind.
Well, again, there's more going on when you're giving up your own children. There's more going on in the person's mind. This is not a normal behavior for us to do, right? For humans, we're not normally going to give up our kids. So there's a lot more going on. It's not like you just join a cult and then they say, well, hey, I'm going to take your 14-year-old, and you go, yeah, that's okay. Again, it's a matter of time, and there's also something that you and yourself have to give up. But for them too, in the groups, just, quickly with these groups, a lot of them feel they're part of a family now, and they're all together, and a lot of them become into group sexual relationships and start sleeping with different people, and it becomes very group togetherness. So it's not like you're giving up your child. It's almost like they're becoming part of something bigger. And so there's a mind thing to that as well, right? Other than the Jim Jones is on his own in that way. But
Well, we're going to get into Jim Jones. We're going to get into Charles Manson, David Koresh. We'll even check into, and I don't know how dangerous this will be, but we might even dip our pinky toe into a little bit of Scientology. Doomsday Cults with Alan R. Warren coming up on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 2.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there. The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
We are underway in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Aberdivine. Aberdivine is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. Follow us on Twitter, if you don't mind, at Dave Scott SOR. That's my personal handle. And for the show, at Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are talking with best-selling author Alan R. Warren. He's got a brand new book out called Doomsday Cults, The Devil's Hostages. It can be bought on his website, alanrwarren.com, as well as Amazon and any major bookstore. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, it's always a pleasure.
Well, we're going to have to do it again because you just have way too much information and are getting really popular with our audience here in the chat rooms and everything. So we really appreciate that.
That's dangerous.
I hear you. I hear you there, my friend. It is dangerous. But, we were talking and just getting into, what causes people to get into doomsday cults. Let's start off with Jim Jones. This is probably one of the more popular ones, as he had over 900 people that he pretty much executed when his world started collapsing on him. Tell us about this story.
Yeah, that was probably the first major one that really, happened. But again, he started out in the 70s, or even sooner, just being a normal kid in a religious family that would go to church, and his father was evangelical, I believe, preacher, and so he was growing up normal, and when he started to get the bug, I would say, to preach, he started by practicing out in the woods, and he would do it with, dead animals and stuff. He would give them a funeral and stuff, and then, and now the story is that he actually started killing the small animals in order to have the dead body to, have a memorial for. So that's kind of the story there. He took over for his father when his father died, and he kind of started his own way of doing it. The biggest thing was, in the 60s, in the U.S., there was still a real problem with race, and he opened himself up at his church to all races and all types of people. He was totally in love with anything that was different, all minorities, gays, everything. He just wanted them all in, and he was very friendly and touchy-feely with them. So he was very popular, and in fact, him and his wife adopted, I believe, 5 or 6 kids, all from around the world, and that cost them a lot of problems in Indiana. That's where they started. And in fact, his wife, there was grocery stores that wouldn't let her come in because they adopted a black son and things. So it was still very controversial. And so he started to feel like people were watching him, and he thought that people wanted to kill him. And he started getting really paranoid. So all of a sudden he had this, I don't know what you'd call it, a prophecy, or he had a dream almost, or, something came to him where he thought the end of the world was going to happen. And they had to move to California because that was going to be one of the places that was safe to be. That kind of sounds corny in itself, but so he moved the church to California, and he started there, and he became really popular. He ended up with like 16,000 followers, and so different electorates like the mayor and people like that. Even Jimmy Carter's wife, Rosalind Carter, went out and took pictures with him because he had a lot of power in San Francisco and in California. So he could he would bus all of his followers to different places to vote. And so he was really in with the in crowd, you might say. And Jane Fonda and all these stars were showing up to his church. It was a big deal. So all things were good. But behind the scenes, by then he was he was putting on fake healings, and then some of that information was getting leaked to the paper. He was starting to have sex with other women in the church and men, and this was starting to leak out. And so there was different things that were happening, and it kind of explains that in the book. So he headed down to Guyana, and the reason he went there was because they had no extradition with the U.S., and plus they were a socialist country and all this stuff like that, and English speaking. So there's other things people have claimed about the reason he went there, but the biggest reason was there was no U.S. extradition. So he felt like he was getting away and breaking away. And so once he did that, he started bringing his members down, 200-300 at a time. they ended up with about 1,000 people. They built this Jonestown, this little community, and he kind of, I think at that time he thought he was kind of getting away from it and could control his own thing and have his own destiny then. And unfortunately, some of the people that went down to Guyana, some of the families split. So one parent would stay back in California, and the other parent would go to Guyana. And some of the kids got moved to Guyana as well, and then the parent that was staying back in California didn't want that. But when they went to the U.S. government, they said, well, we have no power there. We can't do anything about it. So that started to cause problems. And that's sort of why the U.S. sent a congressman and some members of the press and his team, and they all went down to Jonestown to check it out. And that's kind of where it all fell apart, you know. It looked like it was good at the beginning, and all the followers were happy, but they got a note. I think it was the second day they got a note slipped to them, and so they challenged Jim Jones, and they decided to leave, and they bring in some of the people that wanted to leave, and so that was it. Jim Jones sent some of his people. They shot the congressmen and killed them, and a lot of the team members and people that were at the plane, you know, at the tarmac, and so then they come back, and he had practiced, you know, this revolutionary suicide a few times with some of his elite members, and so this time it was going to be a real one. And he had explained to all of his followers that it would be a really peaceful death. You would drink this fluid, and you would just fall asleep, and you know, and it was all a good thing, you know. And he had the Flavor Aid poisoned, you know. It was a cheap off-brand of Kool-Aid, and he had told the parents to start giving it to their children, and the children started drinking it. And when the parents would see the convulsions and the pain and the foam coming out of their mouths, and the painful way their children were dying, of course, a lot of them started fighting and not wanting to do this. And Jones had a lot of his guards either shoot them or force them to drink it and kill them. And eventually, I believe there was 912 members that were found dead. There were a few that escaped. I believe about a dozen ran into the jungle and got away. And there was also some of them that were away. They were in Georgetown, and they were there for some sort of basketball tournament. And so, of course, they were survivors. But you know, it's pretty devastating. Really, really devastating to the world to find out. And the very first reports that were coming back when they were flying planes over, they thought there was just 200-300 dead, and they didn't realize until they got there that it was just that people were piled high. You know, so that, you know, the kids would die, and then the parents were shot and placed on top, so the bodies were piled, and from the sky they didn't realize that there was that many. So that made news all over the world. 1978.
And that's coming off of the heels of Charles Manson and what his cult did as well with the Manson murders of Sharon Tate and everybody along those lines. I mean, was there any type of understanding as to why, you know, he was in California and why these Hollywood stars were kind of following him? Because they almost did the exact same thing with Charles Manson at some point.
Yeah, you know, but that, you know, the Summer of Love and Charles Manson and that whole time, there were so many groups in San Francisco that were doing that. I mean, this was also Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan was there, and that's where it started. You had Charles Manson. They all sort of had their angle of love, and San Francisco was drawing all of these young kids, 14, 15, 16, just going there for the concerts, for the Haight-Ashbury, and for all the whole love thing. So it was a whole mindset that was going on then. And Charles Manson was just one of many. There were so many groups going on right now. Charles Manson was different because one of the most unique things about him was he learned how to do things. Like, he used LSD so much in his type of brainwashing, whereas Jim Jones didn't. That was sort of a different way of doing it. And again, Charles Manson, it's the end times we're living in it. He was Charles Manson, man's son, so he was the son of God, and he was going to lead the God's army after the race riot between the blacks and the whites and the end of the world. And so it had that same flavor, it had the same formula, and Jim Jones, just like Charles Manson, had that way of they've got these young kids or really insecure people, and they would tell them they were beautiful and they were loved, and with both of them they had that way of making you feel like you're the only person in the world. They focused on you, they listened to every word, and they talked back, and they looked at you in the eyes, they held you, and they had this way of making that person feel so important and so loved by them. And so that's the way of getting people involved, getting them into your family, so to speak, or commune.
It almost seems like that when they're doing this, that they're almost, how can I put it? They're almost setting themselves up for repeat offenders. Like, I look at David Koresh more like Charles Manson. Is there any type of patterns that you see between any of these doomsday type cult leaders?
They all have very similar patterns. Some of them use different things. They have different tools that they learned how to use. Like I said, with Charles Manson, LSD in the 60s was being used in treatment for alcoholics at the free clinics, and that's where he learned it. And even when you talk to his male people that he used, like Tex Reed and stuff, he actually took people that would not get along with him and give them LSD and explain things to them while they were high, and it really influenced them. He would turn haters into lovers by doing this. So he learned that technique. Jim Jones had a different technique. They all sort of have a different technique, but it's the same principle involved. It's about winning that spirit of the person over. And I have to say, it's kind of controversial, but it's not much different than what people are looking for when they're looking for religion. So whether you go to a Abrahamic religion like, Christian or Catholic or Jewish, there's people are looking for security and love, and you see it on the rise when things are in tough times, like a war, or like now with the COVID-19, you see a huge spike in these types of groups, because we all look for some sort of comfort and security because things are really uneasy, and then conspiracies come out. Most of these cults have a conspiracy, and that's kind of a big thing that comes along at the same times. So that's why the 60s was such a big time, because of the war, the president being shot, all of the things that were, the riots, all of the things that made everything so insecure and people so much looking for comfort, were in the 60s, were creating these same groups that we're seeing now. And I think it sort of has a relation there.
Eleanor Warren is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. You know, you mentioned it's not always about religion, but it's about following some sort of message. Is this what we kind of saw with the Heaven's Gate mass suicide when Comet Hale-Bopp was flying on by and they believed there was a UFO that was coming by to pick up their spirits?
Yeah, you know, and that's you know, we can get into that. Like Heaven's Gate, just like the Scientologists, it's built on an idea of science fiction, and so it doesn't have to be about an Abrahamic Christian God or anything like that. We're talking about you know, an experience of UFO alien beings, and we're going to move to the next level, and so we all have to die so that we can get onto that spaceship, you know, that's following the comet. It's the same thing as Scientology. You know, you had all these planets that were, you know, in a bad shape, and all of a sudden, you know, it's a big science fiction story. I don't know. You know, and that's kind of the scary thing is Heaven's Gate and Scientology use things that you see in modern fiction, you know, like on movies and TV. And that's why I included the vampire cults, because it's another thing, you know, they use things that they see in Anne Rice books or comics, and they see it on, you know, their away team for the Heaven's Gate and stuff, you know, from Star Trek. It's laughable in a sense when you look at it from the outside, because they're taking things that we see that are just human made. It's just you know, it's just fiction stuff you see on a TV show, and yet people still, they go all in. So it's not always just a religion. So.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking here, like, I realize, like the sci-fi aspect. I mean, you brought up vampire cults. You brought up, you know, the whole fact of chasing aliens through spiritual contact and everything like that. I mean, when people are indoctrinated into that sort of service and giving everything, what changes inside those people that just makes them say, this is the way I need to be living my life? Have we figured that part out yet?
No. No, there's people that claim they have, but tell you the truth, I think that there's some good theories, but I don't think we really know. You know, because in essence, all of these religions, you know, so much is done in the mind. You know, we create so much in our mind, and we make it what we want it to be. And I think that's what happens with religions. And if a mainstream religion is not doing it for you, and you're looking for something, you start searching, you'll find something that fills what you find missing. It has the answers that make sense to you, and it kind of completes you, or you feel complete. So you become a different person. In order to get a person out of a cult, they have to remember who they were, come back to their real self before all of this. And if they do that, they can actually find their way out. But it's not that easy, and it's something that takes time. It takes just as much time in cases that it took for you to get into it. It's really a tough, you know.
So we got about a minute here. For those who say we're not born into it, all right, is it something where this is going to take years, literally years of therapy if they choose to go down that route?
Yeah, probably. In what we've seen, yes. You know, but like I say it, in a lot of these groups, there still exist today. People don't realize it because they're not on the news, and they're still practicing the same religion that they were before, but it's just they're not in the way of the government, or they're not, you know, it's not doing a Waco thing, or there's no big conflict going on, so they just exist, and they're still doing the same things they always do. And unless they kill themselves or have a big conflict with police, you won't hear from them. They'll just keep on moving. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I think in our lifetime, in a long future, humans are going to hold on to some sort of spiritual religion, and that's just kind of how it is.
Alan R. Warren is our guest tonight, best-selling author. His latest book, The Doomsday Cults, The Devil's Hostages. We're going to learn more about cults, religion. What exactly are cults, anyways? Let's find out from Alan when we come back on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there. You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind everybody that you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show. My personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. We are talking Doomsday Cult, The Devil's Hostages, tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Award-winning and best-selling author Alan R. Warren is our guest tonight. Alan, I want to bring you in here quickly because there's so much to go over here when it comes to this. Exactly what is a cult? Because when I look around, I see cults everywhere. You know, we have not just religious cults, we have sports cults, okay? I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan. I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. Have been for a number of years. I'm kind of cultish to what they are doing on a daily basis. You know, every NFL team has their cults of people that filling out those 70, 80, 90, 100,000 seat stadiums on a weekly basis when they're playing football, baseball teams, rock stars, movie stars, people who are so indoctrinated with movie stars they feel they have to kill them. I mean, that's how ridiculous it gets. Are we just one giant cult that's segregated into different sections of this planet?
Well, I think to a certain point we are. Like Michael Shermer, the doctor that writes a lot about that stuff. He analyzes us. We like the structure and we like patterns, and we fall into them. And so when I say, I could ask you, why do you love certain rock stars, or why do you like going to a game, a hockey game or a football game, whatever your love is? Like, why is it that you go to that, or these concerts with 60,000 other people there, and they're all screaming and yelling? What does it do for you when you do that?
When I go to a conference or a concert like that, like let's give you an example. I'm a diehard Guns N' Roses fan. Don't tell Bumblefoot that, because he quit the band. But in 2000, I never got to see them play as their original lineup in Vancouver, because for some reason something always happened that they never toured in Vancouver. And then in 2011, when it was their first time in Vancouver since, I believe, the early 90s, and yes, Axl Rose was the only original bandmate there, and there he was, the entire band. And I had dreamed of that moment, and it actually made me extremely emotional. I remember, like, my favorite song is Paradise City. And I actually remember, and I've never done this at a concert before, never done it since, but when I heard Paradise City live for the first time, I cried. Because it was exactly what I needed to make myself feel good about the music that I love, that had touched me, right in the soul. And I remember that clear as day.
So that in itself sort of says it all, doesn't it? It's something we look for. It's something we want to have. It's something we need, and it fills a spot. It fills a hole. And so whether it's a rock star, or whether it's going to a game, a sports game, or whether it's going to a church and singing, with a lot of other people, it's something that fills a blank spot. There's something that's very unique about human beings, because we are aware that we are alive. We are here. And so I think that it means something. We look for these things. A good example is, look at with the first thing when this COVID-19 virus hits and people got scared. What was the first thing everybody did? They ran to the store and they bought toilet paper. Now they didn't buy toilet paper because they were worried that they were going to run out. It was about control. It was about doing something we needed to do. When we feel out of control, when we feel our life is out of control, just like that, when we're scared, or for whatever reason that we're feeling, out of control, we do things that we can control, and we do it in an extreme way in order to feel like we're in control of things. And that was a perfect example of what's going on. Just like people that are, let's say, protesting now and going out in groups and take our country back, or whatever, going on. It's a way, because their normal patterns are gone. Our 5-day work week, our school, our life is no longer in the pattern that we've come accustomed to. And so we feel out of control, and we feel weak, and we feel kind of insecure, and the whole. So what do? We try to take something back. We try to do something we can. In normal everyday life, we'll do that in little ways. Like people will stop eating, or to control their weight, or they'll we do these little things that little patterns, little things that make us feel in control. And so when you talk about crying at a concert, when you hear Paradise City, it's almost like when someone has gone to one of these religious movements, whether you consider it a cult or a religion, and they're standing there with their hands up and they cry because of whatever's going on there. So that touches them. And so it's really hard to take that away from someone or tell them that it's not worth anything, you see. So this is the sensitivity that we're dealing with humans.
But how much of that is passion, though? I have a passion because that music speaks to me, or somebody who cheers for the Dallas Cowboys has a passion about the history and everything that speaks volumes to them. Is it about finding that passion that sets you along with everybody else who thinks that same way?
Well, I think that's the point. There's this point in our life, just like when they join groups for yoga or whatever they're doing, and there's a certain point where they're doing it and they feel good, and it's helping them. Just like you're going to a concert, or someone's going to a game, or they go see Oprah, whatever it is and it makes them feel good. But there's a point where it becomes your life. You see, the thing is, so what I mean is, like, you were trying to go see a Guns N' Roses, and finally you got to see them, and it was really touching for you, and so that's fine. But you were not going city to city and following them and watching them in every city that they played. You weren't waiting outside of their house. You weren't like, there's a point of passion, and there's a point of where it now becomes your life. And so once you cross that threshold, that it's changed now. It's become your life rather than part of you trying to control your life or trying to feel comfortable in your life. You've now gone over that line and created a whole new life, and the life is about that. And so, that moment when you were crying and you felt so touched, what it is you realize that that's what it is. You can go home and that's fine, and you continue on with your life. There's some people that can't. So once they hit that point where it's touched them and they're crying, they need that, and they need that 24/7. So they becomes their life. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. But from a religious side, if we take, say, Scientology, which is very controversial, and it's one of those, I remember when I got into this a number of years ago, I was actually told never say the S word on the radio. You will get shut down. Why do we fear a lot of these groups like Scientology?
Well, Scientology in itself, they come after you. They actually post negative things about you all over social media. They make up stories. You've been you assault young boys, or they'll do whatever they have to. So they'll smear your name as much as they can, and so that's why we fear that. Scientology has even sued people and reporters and stuff like that. So they've gone out of their way to make it uncomfortable for people that talk out against them. Most of these groups do not do that. They're a very particular group in that way. So that I can see there's a fear for, right? But typically that's not the case. They're unique.
Okay, so what makes a group like that unique comparatively to, say, the Catholics or the Hindus or the Muslims or the Buddhists?
Well, okay, the first thing that you notice is that with Scientology, you get into it, and then you have to achieve levels. You have to become clear. That's the goal. And so as you achieve each level, it costs you more money. And with that money, you learn new information that's kept away. You see, you have to achieve certain levels to get the information. Whereas in all the other religions you had mentioned earlier, it's just all there for anybody. You can go to the Christian church and learn about Jesus Christ. You can learn about what they claim his life was and about the sacrifice he made for humans. You can learn that. The story's all there. You don't have to pay for it, and you don't have to reach certain levels and be in the church a certain amount of time in order to gain certain access and information to what it's about. So that's the first thing. And the other thing is they charge for the levels. Again, the Jewish church doesn't do that. The Buddhists don't charge you. You want to come learn the information. You want to come learn the truth. Sure, come on. That's the typical religion, and where something like Scientology, it's not. So that's the big unique thing about Scientology and why it's run like a business.
So could we equate that to the Freemasons?
Sort of. I think with the Freemasons, the difference is that Freemasons have a lot longer history, and they are not as there's not the unity in the Freemasons that there is in something like the Scientology. If it's kind of all over and scattered, and as years go by, Freemasons become less and less of a real unified group. It's several different sects and little parts, and they all do things differently, and they all have their different ways. And it's not, for the most part, it's not what they live for. How's that? I mean, some people will scream at me for that, but for the most part, the majority of people that consider themselves a Freemason are not living to be a Freemason.
Very true. But on a Scientologist level, they are living that religious choice. That's the way they've chosen to live.
Yeah, and they want this. Everything about their life is Scientology. So their education, their lifestyle, how they eat, how they act, how they talk, what they do, their whole life is dictated to them. It's not. There's no freedom involved in that. It's not like you go home and you work a normal job and you do everything. It is your life. It's like an ultimate commune in a sense. So that's a big difference as well. I mean, you can leave a Catholic church, right? I mean, you can go worship every Sunday, and some Sundays not bother, and sometimes you do things and don't, and it doesn't really matter. It's not like you're in it. Like in Scientology, it's controlled.
No, very much so. So with the Scientology aspect of everything, I mean, we've seen, very big name stars, from Tom Cruise, who's supposed to be the reincarnation of, I believe, L. Ron Hubbard. And we've seen John Travolta and his family go through this. And then we've seen the other side with actress Lisa Rimini, who got out of the practice and literally has had her life turn into a living hell ever since then. How does that work, where some people are absolutely glorified and others are absolutely chastised and ostracized for the rest of their lives publicly?
Well, I guess, humans are funny. Why do they choose to do that? Leah Remini and Mike Rinder, they chose to leave and to expose the church, and so of course anybody involved in the church is going to think they're bad, and that's the crux to the problem. And the truth is that it is. It's but what do you do? I think that. And why do we idolize stars, and why do they get away with stuff? I can never tell you, because as I get older, I have less and less fandom, you might say, for anybody. They're just people like we are, and I can appreciate what a lot of people do and create, but it doesn't need to be your life, So Scientology is kind of scary. The good thing is they're running out of money, and they're kind of falling apart now, a lot due to Leah Remini and her show and stuff.
Is that something that we should watch out for, to learn more?
Oh, yeah. That was, if you really want to see the inside of what goes on in that, it's an incredible series. And Mike Rinder was the guy that used to be the enforcer, and he used to do some awful things, and now he's exposed them for a lot of things they've done. And it's just, and they're slowly losing their control and power, and they're losing a lot of members. Truth is, they're probably around 50 to 60,000 now left in the States. They lost their church rights in the UK. Yeah, they're getting into some trouble now. It's going to be a rough go the next 10 years for them.
Well, the sci-fi writer did a good job in putting that together. That's for sure. One case, as we got about 5.5 minutes here to go before we go to break at the top of the hour, one case that has always intrigued me is the Branch Davidians and David Koresh. I think, in my opinion, that was that case there, along with the OJ trial and driving of the white Bronco down the highway, really changed television and the way we cover news, thanks to CNN. And, I'm not saying, I realize there's a lot of people who are going to be like, oh, CNN's crap and this and that. But back then in the 90s, they were an up-and-coming Ted Turner channel. He wanted to give it a try. And, it worked. The 24 hours news cycle worked. And it was after he was told it would be, dead within 6 months to a year. And I remember watching CNN on the Branch Davidian compound and following that. I was just a teenager then, and I just happened to be sick at home from high school. And I remember the day where the FBI or the ATF raided that compound, and all of a sudden it started burning, and it got absolutely crazy. But yet that is one of those cases that I have absolutely been fascinated with in regards to what happened. Tell us, take a few of us back, if you don't mind, for those who may not be familiar, about what happened with the Branch Davidian compound and why it happened.
Oh, that's pretty complex for a few minutes, but I'll tell you.
We're going to carry this over. Don't rush, because we're going to carry this part over into the next hour as well.
Well, the biggest thing with the Branch Davidians and a lot of the cults that are here is that conspiracy. There's a conspiracy against them, and there's a conspiracy against something and some idea, and that's always kind of what sticks in people's in their craw right there. That's so important to realize, and so with the Branch Davidians and Koresh, that was the key element. So people will, the government made a real mess of that. That was a terrible mess they made trying to resolve that, and there's just no way to get around that. But from that's come so many other conspiracies and other things that it's one of the uglier cult things that we had in our lives, So long story short, really they're kind of a division of the Seventh-day Adventists. And so they have a Doomsday thought in their mind already, and they're sort of their own sect. And he took over that division of the church in Waco, Texas, probably when he was about 20, I believe. I'd have to look that up, but he was part of that church since he was 14, and he got thrown out, and he had a really controversial time with them, and eventually he took it over, and he ended up having the story was he was having sex and several wives, and he took on several people to have children, and it became a real commune, and they started stockpiling all the weapons and the guns and the bombs and everything because, it was the end times. And so they had that going on, and eventually the ATF got involved, and then the FBI, and they had a standoff, and several people died like you were talking about that, how the fire started and who shot first and stuff like that. In my report of it, I took it from both sides. Here's kind of what the government claims, and here's kind of what the Davidians claim. It's kind of both in there. And like I said, I used David Thibodeau as who's part of that series that's out on Netflix now from the Davidian side, and I used a lot of what I got from him and his book and his ideas, and 2 other members as well. And like I said, there's still members. They are still part of that church today. They still are waiting for Koresh to come back, and they still feel like their rights have been violated, and they're not able to practice their religion, and they were attacked for it and killed for it. It's quite it's a really in-depth story, and it's quite I don't know, it's quite revealing on how once the media gets on something like that, it puts the pressure on the policing agency and the government to end the cult and to end that. So that was what that was. And when you were watching it on CNN, a lot of people were all day and all night for the whole standoff. And
right.
It, you know, and it was so important for them to resolve it. And it just, you know, it makes things worse.
It really does.
It does. Because it goes out of control. Nobody ends up getting what they want, and I think that even happened with OJ, right? So,
Alan, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to continue the Branch Davidian talk as we talk Doomsday cults with Alan R. Warren on Spaced Out Radio next in Hour 3.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us, and we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Aberdivine, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and doing a little reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. For the final time tonight, we introduce Alan R. Warren. He's a best-selling author when it comes to true crime, and he's got a great new book out called Doomsday Cults, The Devil's Hostages. And right before the break, we started talking about the Branch Davidians and David Koresh going back to, I believe, 1993, 1994, when the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Department of the U.S. government, raided the compound, killing dozens of people. Or was it the government who did that? That's the big conspiracy to this day, Alan.
The conspiracy is such a big part of these cults, right? How do you answer that? How do you take that away from people? You see it going on today. People are so committed to the conspiracy that even when it's proven not true, they still run with it. I don't quite know how to explain that. I really don't. Again, maybe it's something to do with the control, or feeling out of control, or feeling that they need to control things by fixing it. By that conspiracy is true, and I can't quite explain that.
Very much so. So with that whole situation and the way that many people feel that Janet Reno dropped the ball on that case by telling the ATF to go into the building, did this, in your opinion, cause this entire flare-up in between the two? And was it about spotlighting the danger of any type of religious cult?
Well, I think what happened was because, like you were saying, the CNN news cycle, and it became a fixture. Everybody was watching, and the pressure was on. And Janet Reno didn't have the wherewithal, I'll say, or experience to understand how to deal with this. They were becoming worried about the arms that they had stocked up at Waco, and I think that was the big concern. But they were using the child rape as their reasoning for going to the to the commune and breaking in and taking it down, and that was a good public reason to go after. But I think Janet Reno's concern was the weapons. And so that in itself caused a lot of problems. But how they handled it, and they could have. Koresh would go to town all the time for supplies. They could have just got him in town, and it would have been no fuss, no muss, and taken him down. So it was a total lack of experience, and a lot of people got killed for something that didn't need to happen.
Right. And it's unfortunate, that, in those situations, whether it's the Branch Davidians or whether it's the Jonestown massacre, I always feel for the children, man, because they have no choice. They're following their parents. They're following the guidelines that they've been born into or dragged into by adults who are supposed to be making rational decisions. I mean, in the end, how do we make those type of decisions that affect children so much on this?
I don't know how we can, because as long as we have the the freedom of speech and our freedom to move about in the country like it's supposed to be, how can you say, well, what you're doing is wrong? How can we stop you from doing that? Until you actually do something that's really against what society says, we're sort of stuck. And that seems to be an ongoing battle right now. It seems to be a really important topic in amongst everyone. So groups like this aren't any different. I mean, what would you do, and how could you? So, for instance, what would you have done with Waco and with the Branch Davidians? In reality, it's a tough decision, and until you get proof about what it's claimed that they were doing, you're sort of stuck. So it's kind of, you can't have it both ways, you know.
No, you can't have it both ways, but you know, I guess what I'm trying to say, you know, maybe I'm looking at this too humanely, right? Like the majority of us do look at things, is we try and look at things from our own perspective and our own way on how we would handle things. And it's just sickening to think that, you know, if you got the parents, you got the children for life, pretty much. And that brings up that entire new generation and keeps things going, both financially, physically, sexually, emotionally. It's a terrible thought. I could never imagine growing up in that type of lifestyle.
No, but then again, how do you stop it? As a child, you don't know any difference. You just start waking up at age 5 or 6 and kind of getting into life, and you don't know any different. You just know what your parents tell you and what's around you. And if you're living there, there's really nothing to make you think any differently. And if the parents are all for it, I don't know what we can do as a society. I think that until we know and have proof that something bad has happened to the kids, we're sort of stuck. It's one of those that's just it's crazy because again, then you're starting to take away people's rights. But I mean, I'm one to tell you, I think most of these are all they've got a lot of wingnuts running a lot of these religious movements and groups. But it's kind of the freedom that they have.
Okay, well, let's look for today. Out there today, how many alleged cults are there out there today that are going on? Do we even have a number on that? Is it easy to calculate?
It's not easy to calculate. Probably the biggest, best resource for that is when you go to the cult education, and that's Rick Ross and his website, and they try to keep track of all groups that have anything to do with a cult or might be a cult or part of a cult or been reported as a cult, and that's probably your best. And there's hundreds. There's absolutely hundreds, and under different categories, because you get reports of, again, you report a group that you think is a cult or some sort of religious movement, and how do you, if it's a real one and you're calling them a cult, like it's such a fine line. But that's probably your best resource. But there's probably at least 300 going on in the U.S. alone right now. And there's probably way more than that. The hardest part to figure out as well is because the new threat is kind of this whole online world that we've created. Before the internet, you would have to go and see the group and listen to the ceremonies or get part of that group. You have to move. It was just a local area. And it took a long time to get members and to expand. Nowadays, you can have an online presence and gather people with the same, let's say, theories or ideas or thoughts or a conspiracy. That's the connection nowadays online. People that have the same theory about what's going on in the world, whatever that is. If the world's flat, or we haven't been to the moon, or whatever you have in your mind. And when you find that online, then you join those groups and you become part of it, and sometimes not even realizing it. So it's a whole new way now.
Question coming from Renee in our chat room here. Alan, do you think Ruby Ridge sort of started what happened in Waco?
No, it never started it, but it's definitely there's a connection to it. I think a lot of people, after the Ruby Ridge incident, that sparked a lot of people, especially in some of those states, feeling that the government was against them, and the government was trying to take away their guns and their power, and it kind of got more and more. And so when the Branch Davidians, when that happened, a lot of people with that theory or that belief jumped on the protection of David Koresh and the group, saying that you're doing the same thing. And a lot of them felt that was just the government killing a lot of innocent people that wanted to just have guns and have their own religion and have their own commune and do their own thing. So it related to the to the Ruby Ridge, and that's also why you had the Oklahoma bombing, right? It was done on the anniversary. Tim Nichols, he was at the Davidians waiting outside watching, and that's how he felt. So it had a big influence on people. So they're connected in the actions toward the government, but themselves within their own group as Davidians, they had their own thing going on, which had nothing to do with Ruby Ridge or the Oklahoma bombing. So it's connected with the conspiracy of the government.
All right. Brutus has a question, and by the way, Brutus and his son just picked up Spaced Out Radio t-shirts. Thank you so much for that. I want photos of that, by the way, Brutus. He's asking, Alan, the family, what is up with them? Are they still active?
Yeah, actually, the family's doing quite well.
Who is the family?
Well, where do I start? It's kind of the one out of the States started as a group of people that, how do you say, they were kind of the old holy rollers, they were kind of a modern day children of God, and so that sort of whole thing. And then David Berg was the big guy then, and they created the Family International. But it's still going. The website's still there, the group's still there, and everything's going as it was. The other family that's in Australia, that was a pretty big group, is not going. She died, and it no longer is a practicing religion, as far as anybody knows. But it could be. But do you remember the family? That was Berg, and he had it's the family of love, and you had to make love with God. So he would have his escorts, and they would go out. It was called flirty fishing in the 70s, and they would get members by sleeping with them.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's how they got members. He would send his girls out, and they would meet potential members and sleep with them for and to become a member. And God's gift of salvation was to show them that you loved them, and you had to have sex. So they would have a lot of sexual contact and a lot of group sex and stuff like that. But the leader died, and it's changed. It's changed. The group has changed. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they're doing the same thing, but they are still existing.
Slim is asking, what about the Finders? Do you know anything about the Finders?
I haven't spent much time following up with or working with the finders, but if you want to know about them, like I said, if you go to the culteducation.com and you can go under their alphabetical and you can hit finders, and you can get all the latest information. What they do is they report. So anytime a report's been made to the police or to someone's made a claim to the newspaper anywhere in the world, mainly in the U.S. and Canada, then they post it, and they post it into the group that's been complained about. So it's an excellent resource if you want to find out the latest on a group like that, like the finders.
We've got about 5.5 minutes left for you, and I kind of want to end this on a, lack of a better term, a steamy note. But a lot of these cults, these doomsday cults, or even vampire cults and music cults or whatever, a lot of it seems to revolve around sex. What does sex have to do with cultism?
It's the ultimate comfort. Sex just as food and drugs, but sex is the ultimate comfort. So when we become important to a group and we become a member, and we now as an individual are important, we're worth something now. And sex is a reinforcement, and it's the ultimate comfort. Of course, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Charles Manson and David Koresh and all that was pleasing his woman, and it was the ultimate in that way. But it's an ultimate connection in general. Sometimes it goes awry, and sometimes it's bad, but there's a lot of things like the family groups that it was a very big part of the organization, and it gave everybody even a stronger connection and more of a communal group, thing together. It made them more of a family. So it was really important. And even so, even in Charles Manson and stuff, the sex was important, but it was also part of the control, right? And he would punish people by like Diane Lake, who was Snake in the group at 14, and he would sexually assault her at times whenever he was mad at her and stuff. So it's kind of a control thing with some of these bad cults. But in general, it's the ultimate connection and comfort.
And yet a lot of these so-called leaders of these cults, they tend to take sex away from many, especially the men in the groups.
Oh yeah. It all depends on the group's kind of their formula of working and what he does. Most of these groups and leaders have their system, their patterns laid out, and they kind of force you to live that lifestyle, whatever that is. And sometimes it involves a lot of sex with a lot of the members, and sometimes it's very particular. People are picked out of who has sex and who has it with who. And even into more mainstream, like you got the Mormons, where you actually choose, and your wives can be chosen for you. Like it's kind of a situation of, it's another part of the formula and the lifestyle, part of the machine. So, and if you were born and raised into that too, that's the ones that really are affected the most, because they know nothing else. You're married off and you're one of 5 wives at 13, no other way of living. And so you don't look at it as bad. It is a it is a comfort, and it is a family sort of unit. So it's kind of it's a really good way of control.
A lot of it is, I'm assuming, is for the emotional connection and the spiritual connection that is connected, maybe to the chakras that many people say in the spiritual world, or maybe it helps, orgasm gets you closer to God in many people's eyes. I mean, there is this euphoria that goes along with it, and I'm assuming that's all part of the plan in the indoctrination of people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's a very big thing. Like the sexual, like you were saying, the orgasm or the connection that you have with someone during that is very important. And if you actually believe that this person is really Christ or someone like that, and they're actually having sex with you, they're making love to you, and they're telling you you're important, and it becomes a very big event for a lot of the people involved, and they're looking for that love and feeling of need. It does it for them. It's perfect. It's kind of a consummation.
Fully agree. Alan, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight and introducing us to your brand new book, Doomsday Cults, The Devil's Hostages. Tell everybody in about 40 seconds here where they can get your books and where they could find more information on you.
My website's probably the best place, and it's just alanrwarren.com. Has all my books, has a connection to the radio show as well, and things like that. I have a little bit of a blog starting, but all it is really just kind of me telling people what I'm writing or doing and that kind of information. It's not a big blog or anything like that, and that's probably the best thing to do too.
Well, we appreciate that, and anytime you want to come on this show, you just let us know, and we'd love to have you on here again very, very soon, because you're so brilliant at this, and like I said, you're one of the most talented writers in this genre, not only in North America, but probably the world. Keep up the great work, my friend.
Nice of you to say. Thank you very much.
Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned as we start to take this show home.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Need that weekend's supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, which is updated daily. Remember, we're all over Twitter as well. At Dave Scott SOR is my personal handle, and you can follow the show at Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of the news, let's rock into it. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and the sometimes ones that just do not make sense. It's no joke. Tupac Shakur lives in Kentucky and needs unemployment benefits to pay his bills. The Lexington man's name was brought up by Governor Andy Beshear on Monday as he spoke about how the state is trying to process all unemployment claims filed in March amid the coronavirus pandemic by the end of April. According to Beshear, a few bad apples, including a person who filed an unemployment claim under the name of the late rapper Tupac Shakur, are responsible for slowing down the state's unemployment processing. He blamed people who think they're funny for making thousands of other people wait for their unemployment payments. But apparently, Tupac Malik Shakur, who's 46 years old and goes by Malik, lives in Lexington, Kentucky, and worked as a cook before restrictions stopped the spread of the coronavirus, shut down restaurants. He filed for unemployment March 13th and has been waiting to receive his first check. I've been struggling for the last month trying to figure out how to pay my bills, he says. He wondered why his benefits were being held up, but did not think the Labor cabinet would declare his claim as a prank. I'm hurt. I'm really embarrassed and I'm shocked, he says. Beshear's office originally said the state could not verify the identity on the application, but after getting information from the local newspaper, the state is working on resolving the claim. Beshear called Shakur personally Tuesday to apologize, and Shakur said he appreciated the gesture and forgave the governor. I understand he's dealing with a lot, Shakur says. Mistakes happen. In order to process unemployment claims more quickly, Kentucky opened a new hotline for people who have yet to receive a payment. Scary incident in the area off the coast of Greece, where there are reports a Canadian military and NATO helicopter has crashed. Yeah, apparently the report says a military helicopter operating off of a Canadian frigate went missing while taking part in a NATO operation in the Mediterranean. And the Canadian military leaders are in high-level meetings trying to figure out what happened following an initial lockdown on communication with media as the early reports emerged. A Twitter account run by the Canadian Forces said it lost contact with a CH-148 Cyclone helicopter that had been deployed on the HMCS Fredericton for Operation Reassurance. That's the mission to deter Russian aggression in Central and Eastern Europe. While out on a NATO exercise, the tweets from the military say they lost contact with the helicopter and are now conducting a search and rescue effort. A spokesperson for NATO confirmed that there has been an incident involving a helicopter from a ship under NATO command, but did not identify the military member operating the helicopter. Yes, search and rescue mission is underway. Anyways, they are saying that the helicopter went missing in the sea between Greece and Italy and that other NATO allied frigates are conducting search operations. Greek authorities said they have not been asked to help as the area is far off the Greek mainland and outside the area where the country has any responsibility for SAR-REX operations. A tweet came from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau further confirmed that the rescue efforts were underway for the missing chopper, but didn't provide further details. He says a Canadian helicopter involved in Op Reassurance with NATO allies has gone missing off the coast of Greece. I have spoken with Minister Harjit Singh, and search and rescue efforts are currently underway. Updates will be provided as soon as possible. The Cyclone helicopter replaced Canada's aging fleet of Sea Kings in 2018. They provide air support to Navy operations and are described as state-of-the-art for the military. In terms of operations, the helicopters can be used for everything from conducting surveillance on and below the surface of the seas, search and rescue missions, and tactical support. Billionaire Elon Musk has slammed coronavirus lockdown measures by tweeting "Free America Now" as he joined protesters from across the country in demanding restrictions be lifted. The Tesla founder fired off a series of tweets earlier this week protesting against the current lockdown restrictions and applauded some states like Texas, which are now restarting their economies. Musk's Twitter outburst came just as he was on the cusp of getting $750 million in payout from from a bonus scheme that is linked to the electric car maker's share price. Free America now, the 48-year-old tweeted, alongside a link to a Wall Street Journal op-ed about whether lockdowns are saving lives. Musk tweeted, give people their freedom back. He also tweeted a link to a story about Texas lifting some of the restrictions, saying, "Bravo, Texas." Musk later clarified in response to a tweet from one of his followers that he believed the states should be reopening slowly. Yes, reopen with care and appropriate protection, but don't everyone under de facto house arrest. I don't know what that means. Anyways, Musk had earlier hit out at Silicon Valley, saying it had become sanctimonious valley and too much the moral arbitrator of the world. Stay-at-home orders issued by governors across the U.S. and subsequent decisions to slowly reopen state economies have turned into highly charged political issues in recent weeks as the shutdowns have hammered the nation's economy. People in various states across the country have been protesting against lockdown restrictions. Around half of all the workers in the United States could earn more in unemployment benefits than in their jobs before coronavirus decimated the economy, official figures have revealed. You got to be kidding me. Millions of Americans allegedly have lost their jobs during the pandemic, and many have been unable to register for unemployment benefits due to problems with the online process. President Trump in March signed a stimulus package that included a $600 boost to weekly unemployment benefits to last until July 31st. This increase added to state benefits should give the average weekly payment of around $978. On average, almost $378 was paid in unemployment benefits to each claimant last year, according to the Labor Department. On average, half of full-time workers earn $957 a week or less in the first quarter of this year, around $20 a week more than the combined unemployment benefits figures show. Isn't that interesting? As of yesterday, officials' U.S. statistics show that 26.5 million people have applied for unemployment benefits since March 15th. Some workers appear to be better off being laid off in order to receive the extra benefit instead of staying on the payroll for a job with potential reduced hours. According to calculations by the New York Times, workers in more than half of the states will receive on average more in unemployment benefits than they did from their normal salaries. How scary is that? Think about that. In 2009, the global economic crash, a federal stimulus package increased unemployment benefits by just $25 per week. But some business owners said the current relief package is complicating strategies for reopening their companies as it could create a disincentive for employees returning to work when the lockdown is relaxed. How about paying your employees more? How about that? Stop complaining. Pay your employees a real salary. Anyways, a poll revealed yesterday that idle workers encountered downed websites and clogged phone lines as the state governments that administer the program have been overwhelmed by applicants. As of Tuesday, hundreds of Americans lined up to access much-needed food handouts in Los Angeles and Prospect, Pennsylvania, as the impact of the pandemic on the economy continued to worsen. Masses of cars waited in line for the drive-through food giveaway in Pico Rivera, California, as volunteers wearing face masks, gloves, and high-vis jackets helped dish out crucial supplies. Lawmakers say replacing 100% of workers' earnings was designed to keep the economy afloat and provide a vital lifeline. Anyhow, let's move on. It's true that clothing is one of the primary ways that people express themselves. Beyond providing comfort, the things you wear can help exude confidence, and in the case of high fashion, can even elicit some awe. But what if your clothes could take things a step further and actually change your mental state? Well, new research has been published that suggests it is now possible. Yeah, apparently scientists have found a way to make clothing not only feel good on the skin, but feel good to the mind just by altering vibration patterns within the clothing. People already wear certain clothes to make them feel more confident or comfortable in certain circumstances. Tajadura Jimenez says, "We are all interested in promoting perceptions that are imperceptible to others. So the idea is that if I perceive my body as different, bigger, stronger, lighter, I may in turn feel calmer, more confident, and this will shape my interactions with the world and with others. To test out this hypothesis, the researchers conducted 2 experiments with 2 different prototypes of their magic lining clothing. In the first, they used a garment covered in 21 off-the-shelf vibration monitors linked to an Arduino Uno microcontroller board and a computer running Arduino software. By activating these motors in different combinations, the team created 4 different vibration patterns. They repeated each pattern 30 times. We looked for the layouts that could allow us to experiment with more movements by utilizing less materials and electronics. No, they did not use any thong underwear on this. Also, the movements we wanted to create evolved from simple ones into more complex ideas that needed several directions in rows. In the first experiment, they tested 3 different areas of the body: the arms, the center of the back, and the upper back with 2 vibration patterns. The researchers then asked respondents to describe the sensations. Oh, it was magical. No, they felt it was made of concrete or being slightly pushed by an external force like paranormal. This stuff is paranormal. The second magic lighting prototype consisted of 25 motors on felt fabric. Yeah, and it felt like magic. This time, like water. Clouds, signifying light, soft, warm air, fluffy, cozy, slow, and calm. Oh, how beautiful it is. Anyways, this team builds on a long tradition of e-textiles. Technically, the conductive threads and fabrics required to bring e-textiles to life have been around for centuries, but the art form didn't become mainstream until the 1960s when the Museum of Contemporary Craft in New York City held an exhibit called Body Covering. That feature showed everything from spacesuits to clothing that could heat or cool themselves. Would you do that? Okay, like, I understand having this clothing. Like, for instance, if you're riding a motorcycle, okay, and you're riding in colder weather, you need something to heat you up. Or if it's really hot out and you're wearing your leathers, all right, you're on the Harley or you're on the Kawasaki or whatever, and you're heating up because you're riding in hot weather, and the leather clothing that you wear for protection is very, very warm. I can see having a cooling down system as well, which they do have. But do you not just think that this is a waste of money? Thinking, do we really need this? Do we really need to have a computer tell us what outfits to wear in what temperature? I don't know about you, but since I've been able to dress myself, I've been able to figure out whether or not it's warm enough or cold enough to wear shorts or pants. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I think I've been able to figure that one out. How about you? Let me know at #SpacedOutRadio on Twitter. Can you figure out the temperatures and what to wear for the weather occasion? I don't know. Maybe some can't. A veterinary clinic in Australia shared a video from an unusual case which saw a golden retriever need surgery after swallowing a fork. Michael and Elise Pitt contacted their clinic in Australia to report their dog Dustin may have swallowed an entire fork while raiding a dinner plate. Dr. Mad Woodruff took an x-ray. Yep, there was a fork lodged in old Dustin's esophagus. If I didn't have my training, I wouldn't have been concerned that someone had doctored the photo, he says. The veterinary team was able to use an endoscope to remove the fork through Dustin's mouth. It was surprising, the first time I've ever seen a dog eat a utensil. And finally, this cow tried to get away, but the Kennewick Police Department got their cow. Police in Washington State say they wrangled a loose cow that was running wild through traffic and attempting to ram passing cars. Officers for the Kennewick Police Department responded to a report of a cow on the loose. The cow was running through traffic and was trying to ram cars, the department says. Police were able to wrangle the cow into an enclosed backyard with the help of some witnesses. The animal was taken away by its owner. The cow was not charged for trespassing. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave, we had a little bit of fun with this, is as follows. If you were to start your own cult, what would it be about? Goddess Michelle? I would start a cult type of cult, where these people worship me. I mean, I really need my feet rubbed, so it's one way to achieve that. I would also like someone else to make supper. I will still mix my own drinks. Don't want no weak-ass drinks. Shanna. My cult would be devoted to mischievous underwear gnomes that eat breakfast for dinner. I'm not going to join that one. Breakfast for dinner just ruined it for me. Rocks. A 12-step cult for the social distancing challenged. The first 2 steps are in the opposite direction. The third step is admitting you have a problem, but speak up because it's kind of hard to hear what you're saying all over here. Nathan, worshipping our AI overlords and giving offerings of WD-40. Sounds legit. Graham, it would be the faith or true of, or creedom pagan faith of the old gods, including Crom and Odin. All right. Julie, I'm seeking to understand what is the creator of the intelligence that made the Lyman where all information resides, that is. Planets are us. A non-group identifying cross-cultural exploration of the obvious use by pre-literate cultures of historically important nature occurring plant medicines and their relations with human evolution. I think he smoked some pot. Just to be right there. Peter, the cult of music, and he has a gif of Dimebag Darrell playing, looks like Cowboys from Hell, on his Dean guitar. God bless Dimebag Darrell. What a great guitarist. Juan, I'd start the cult of a chimpa-cabra just to see how many suckers will worship a half-monkey, half-goat picture. These kids nowadays ain't the brightest. Oh. Okay. The Axe. The cult of the Oxford comma. Sparky. The cult of the thinking out of the box. D.A. Roberts, our guest from the other night. The cult of Skittles. Taste the rainbow, be the rainbow. As it is written, so it shall be done. Patrice wants to start the cult of solitaire. Nancy wants freedom cults. Chris, the long hair cult. Dave Scott is the leader. Oh, there's some beautiful manes out there. Stephen, can't tell. You have to kill you first. Okay. Glurp, the cult of barbecue night tactical grape soda learning games. Okay. Another Stephen, the cult of entertainment media research run by a has-been pop star. Oh my goodness. Was that a shot? Catherine wants to be the head of the cult of root beer. Nick, some jerks already stole my idea of a spaceship in the tail end of a comet, folds arms, and pouts. Oh my. Oh my. Guess he's not a fan of Heaven's Gate. Paul, I want to be in the shave or not to shave cult. Alex, I would be the Earth representative for an alien alliance of red alien primates. I would talk about them at major conferences so I could, too, invite 20-year-old groupies into my hotel room. Oh, you sicko. Tina, I want to be a part of the cult of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. God bless you. Penman, the cult of anti-scientific paranormal and UFO research. Oh, wait, we already have one of those. Ron, not sure what it would be about, but we would drink Kool-Aid and the town would have to have its... Oh, we're going to end with this one. Okay, this is my buddy Ron Jones. Okay, so he goes, not sure what it would be about, but we would drink Kool-Aid and the town would have to have my last name in it. Wow. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Thank you so much to Captain Shirk for the great news on the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website. And, of course, to Alan R. Warren for the Doomsday cults, the devil's hostages. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be, and everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Rev Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club on our website, and all the snarkers and snarkats at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. That means a lot. I'm going to be here tomorrow night. I hope you can, too. Let's hang out together, shall we? Let's. See you tomorrow. Good night.